Hi, my name's Giselle, and I was shot 8 times by my boyfriend's mother's husband. When this happened, it was the day after Thanksgiving. I remember I was hanging out with my boyfriend, his little sister, and his dad that day. And then later that night, we went back to my boyfriend's house, and his neighbor came by to watch a movie with us. And we were just watching a movie all together. I don't really remember what movie, but then I do remember his stepdad. He was like kind of walking in and out, like pacing back and forth from the house to the garage. Me and my boyfriend were going to sleep in the living room, but since his stepfather kept walking in and out, I felt more comfortable like sleeping in the basement so I wouldn't be like interrupted while I was sleeping. So we went to the basement, and then from there my boyfriend wanted to go upstairs to wash his face and get ready for bed. So he went to do that, and I was already laying down and I was on my phone ready to go to sleep too. And then out of nowhere, I heard a really loud noise. I heard like really loud footsteps running down the stairs. I see him, my boyfriend's stepfather, like in the corner of the room. He's pointing a gun at me, and then that's when he says to shoot at me. At first, I'm still like in shock because I don't know what's happening, and I put my hand out to protect myself. And then once he shot my hand, I think it was like maybe the second or third shot, I don't really remember, that's when I fell down, laid my body down, and I pretended to be still and to be dead so he wouldn't keep shooting at me. But he did shoot 2 more times. It was on my leg, and then he ran back upstairs, and I still couldn't believe it because I just can't believe that. First I thought it was BB guns because it didn't really hurt until I looked down and there's blood everywhere, and then I'm like, okay, this is not like he really shot me. So then I grabbed my phone with my broken arm. I grabbed my phone and I text my sister that I was shot. I was shot 8 times, and it was my shoulder, kind of between my armpits, then right here. So there's like 2 right here, and then once on my other shoulder. So 5, and then once on my hand, and then 2 times on my leg. A little bit after, that's when I called the police because I'm not sure if anybody else was calling the police. So I called the police, and I'm on the phone with the operator. At this time, like, I don't know what's happening. So this happened like within 5 minutes. So then maybe my boyfriend came downstairs and then saw me there, and he's also on the phone with the operator talking to them that I'm shot. Then we hear like footsteps upstairs, and then that's when we're both yelling for help, and then that's when the officers come down and see me. And I think when they see me, they kind of ripped my shirt open up here because that's where I got shot here, and also my leg, but they were kind of focused here because that's what they saw. I don't know whether if they took out the bullets, I'm not sure, but I remember they did rip this part open to look at it. And then before they put me on the stretcher, there was also like a photographer that was with police officers. That was, I think, a crime photographer. I'm not sure. He took pictures of me, and then right after that, I was put on the stretcher, and then I was sent to the ambulance. And then I arrived to the hospital, and in the hospital I was in the waiting room while I was in the emergency room. And then there, maybe like an hour later, I was able to get in contact with my sister. Then they came to see me. My sister, my brothers, my mom came to visit me. And then this is all still happening in the same night. And then also I had the crime investigator come in and talk to me, and he asked me about what happened. I told him everything that I told him telling you. I told him, and he told me that like that loud noise that I heard was actually my boyfriend's mother, and she dropped once he shot her. She dropped to the floor, and that was that loud thud. Then that's when I learned that his stepfather committed suicide and he shot himself. I think I also got to see my boyfriend that night before they sent me up to a hospital room because I'm still in the emergency room. And then probably about 5 a.m. I got pictures taken of me, and then x-rays taken of me, and then I was sent to the hospital room, and I was there for a few days. So I've known my boyfriend for a long time, and I never had a weird vibe or relationship with his stepfather. It was more like I always kind of kept my distance because that is his stepfather. I'm not that close to him, so I never felt weird or anything like that. So when that did happen, I thought that was very strange because I never did anything to him, and I didn't really know his relationship with his mother because, like I said, I kind of mind my business. I didn't know anything really. So before this, I was actually social media manager for a property management group, and I've been doing social media for the past maybe 2-3 years before that happened. When this happened, obviously I couldn't move my arm because it was broken. I really couldn't do much. Like, I needed a lot of help to take a shower, to eat, to move around, to like write stuff. I obviously told my employer, and I was just kind of like just recovering. I think I was recovering for a good two months. But since that happened, I was let go of my job because I couldn't, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't work. I had to focus on recovering. I feel like the recovery process was really long because I did fracture my shoulder. It was really hard for me to move, like I said, to move, to eat. My boyfriend helped me a lot. My boyfriend's sister, and my own sister, they would kind of take turns like bathing me, feeding me, like moving me around, like from if I wanted to sit in the couch to a bed, like I needed help doing that. I couldn't lay down for the longest, like I always had to be sitting up, so that also like I gained a lot of weight because of that. Always in the hospital, like at least for the x-rays. Yeah, I had to take a lot of x-rays like every week, and then it turned to every other week, and then it turned to once a month. But that took some time. I think my last x-ray was maybe in May last year. I was also on that arm brace for about like 2 months, I want to say, and that was really hard to live with, and then also like really painful when I got off the arm brace. Like I was taking like really hard medications, and I tried not to rely on it too because the medications would break me out and break my skin out, so I tried to like stay away, but if I really did need it, I would take it. So I did that. So then once I was off the arm brace, my arm specialist wanted me to start physical therapy. So I started to do physical therapy, and at first that was really painful, but little by little it started getting better, and I did that for maybe almost close to a year. And then once I felt more comfortable, I started going to the gym and starting like gaining more strength on my arm and my bicep, and I'm still going like to the gym to try to like gain strength because my arm still isn't perfect. Like it's hard for me to like reach stuff or like hold really heavy things. And then also, since I lost my job and once I felt better, I had to like get another job, obviously, and I didn't want to do an office job because usually office jobs you're there for 8 hours a day, and I needed a job that was flexible enough for me to go to my physical therapy appointments, go to my doctor's appointments, to go to the gym. So that's when I started work at Sephora. Since I have already built a following on social media, I started also like recording stuff in Sephora, like makeup tutorials or about makeup reviews and products. And then that's when I kind of started to do influencer stuff, like promote products and stuff for brands and do brand deals. And yeah, and then that's kind of what I'm doing now. And I work at Sephora still, and I'm still doing brand deals, and I'm also working for a couple companies and helping them with their social media pages. So after the incident, I have never have done therapy before. So after that happened, a lot of people were telling me to do therapy. So I did try group therapy, and I tried group therapy with my boyfriend, his little sister, and his neighbor. And I felt like that went well, but at the same time, like it's still a traumatic event. So I didn't feel comfortable talking about it, even if it was with them and even if they were there. I didn't feel comfortable talking about it in front of everybody. So then maybe a couple weeks after that, I started doing therapy, like one-on-one with I want to say PTSD therapist, but I don't remember what her title was called. But I was with her maybe for a month or two, and we were just kind of going through the PTSD of it because I felt like I had really bad PTSD. Like if I heard a loud noise, if I saw like just strangers around me, like I'd get really scared, and I had really bad anxiety, and I still have anxiety till this day, and I feel like that has a lot to do with it. But I remember my therapist really did help me out, and she would give me a lot of exercises to do, like with her and also by myself. She'd also like really would push me to try to be more comfortable being out and about, like to be with somebody or to be with my emotional support animal. Like she was really great, and I feel like therapy really did help me a lot and try like to get over that anxiety. But like I said, I still do have anxiety, but it's just not as bad as it was before. The reasons why I started therapy was because I was having like a lot of nightmares, and I was having like flashbacks and anxiety because of like I'd get scared of loud noises, like I said, and I felt like that helped. She gave me a lot of good exercises to kind of get over that. Like I said, I was doing therapy for like a month or two. It was nice like talking to somebody about it and going further into it, and also her kind of like hearing me vent and giving me stuff to do to kind of like heal from it. I felt like I was ready once the nightmares stopped. Like, I don't get nightmares like that anymore. And once the nightmares stopped happening, that's when I felt like I was ready to stop too. Because I didn't want to rely just on a therapist the rest of my life to get over something like that. Also had like a great support system, like my friends and my family, and like I said, my emotional support animal. They really helped me through it. I feel like now I'm doing better, especially like mentally and emotionally and physically, honestly, because when that happened, I was not only was like I was wounded and I felt weak, but I also felt like very sad and very depressed. I had really bad anxiety. Like I felt like the lowest I've ever felt before. Like I had really low self-esteem because of that, and I felt like I had to. It was really hard, kind of bringing myself back up. When I shared my story on TikTok, I did feel better because there was a lot of people that like were there supporting me, like strangers online, just giving me like advice and sending me prayers and kind of just being there for me, and I really appreciated that. So I felt like I said, I had a great support system because of that. And then like as time went by, I would also share my story and updates with my followers since they were so like invested in the story, and I felt like I owed them that. Like I want to show them that I am feeling better, so I would give them the updates, whether regardless if it was me going to physical therapy or me getting a job. I kind of update them on my life now. Yeah, I feel way better, like physically, emotionally, and mentally, and I feel like that has a lot to do with the growth that I've done on TikTok, like on social media. Like they definitely encourage me to get better, and they're always interacting with my videos, which I love and I appreciate. I guess I'm feeling better now too, since I work at Sephora, and I always have loved makeup, and I love social media since that's what I went to college for, was advertising. That's what I started working on, was social media management for like many different businesses. So I always knew I wanted to be in social media, and I always loved makeup, so it kind of worked out for me, I guess. And I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I guess I'm just feeling way better now. Oh yeah, I did want to mention too, like I know like right now I am doing like makeup tutorials and stuff like that, but whenever a follower does ask me about like mental health or about gun violence, I always like give my advice, or I share resources, like whether I tell them to go look up a nonprofit that helps with gun violence or with promoting non-gun violence or even domestic violence. I always share my resources and I give them a voice too, in a way. So I feel like I am, even if I don't really try to do it so much, I feel sometimes I am an advocate for mental health and for non-gun violence and domestic violence. And then, but now since I do work at Sephora, like eventually I would love to do social media full time. I have been recently, my page has been growing more and more, which I love and I appreciate, and I would love to do content creation full time. I enjoy doing makeup tutorials and giving makeup reviews, but at the same time I also do enjoy being in the store and talking to people, and some people have recognized me for my TikToks, and I always kind of give them whatever they want to hear, really, whether like how I'm doing or any resources. I always am happy to share and be transparent with them, so that's always been nice too. Probably like 5 months into my healing journey, I had a nonprofit reach out to me to promote their gun violence campaign. It's called SNUG, so I forgot what that meant. Something like say no, or something about the guns, like saying no to guns. So I felt like so. Also, this nonprofit called Project Unloaded, and they are students within the United States, and they advocate for just saying no to guns and having stricter regulations about it. So they reached out to me to make a video about that, and I did. And I also had that on my bio for like a month or two, and that's still up on my page too if people were interested in it. I think that's the only campaign that I've worked on that was specific to gun violence. But I would also say I feel like this morning I was just listening to the Sandy Hook interview from Good Morning America, and even though it's obviously a completely different situation and a different experience, it's still people being harmed by others that are not mentally well, and they're using guns. So I guess in that situation, I would just say I feel like there needs to be stricter gun laws and stricter like regulations. I'm not sure if they do background checks or not because I've never owned a gun, but I feel like there needs to be like maybe yearly or monthly mental wellness checks, stricter background checks if the United States still wants to, sell guns. Honestly, I feel like you said like I did summarize a lot because this is still like it's hard to talk about, and I've talked about it, on my social media pages, and I've also talked about it like I said before in person, when somebody recognizes me, I'm more than happy to talk about it, but it is something still hard to talk about. It is something still traumatic. Like I said, my family, my friends, my support system, my therapist, my physical therapist, like a lot of people did help me through this journey. Like it wasn't just by myself healing. It was a lot of people like behind me, helping me and encouraging me to get better. And then also while in this process, I have learned a lot about domestic violence and gun violence, and it is increasing like every single year, and it's really sad to see because I can relate to a lot of those people. Even though it's not the same exact situation, I can relate to being scared and to being injured, and also like the aftermath after that, because I know a lot of those people probably go to therapy, probably have anxiety because of this and PTSD. So I can relate to them a lot on that. But like I said, like therapy helps. Talking about it does make it easier. Sharing my experience with others, because that's gonna promote like awareness of this issue. So when this first happened, obviously I did speak about everything that happened, and it like me and him both shared that it was kind of like it was very traumatic and kind of would replay it a lot in our minds. But therapy helped me, and then I've also shared some of the exercises that my therapist would tell me to do, and I also shared with him, and I felt like that helped him a lot. And then later on, like I have like a lot of friends and like a really good support system, and I didn't really feel comfortable. Not that I don't feel comfortable talking about it with him, but I don't, want to remind him every single day about what happened, or if I had a nightmare, like I don't want to also kind of bring that anxiety or those thoughts to him. So I talked to my therapist about it, or my sister, or my close friends, and they were also very understanding, and they would let me vent to them. So they say like if I wanted to talk about it with him, I definitely can. But I also have a really good support system. I really have good friends to talk about it too. So I don't always want to remind him of it. I like to talk to them, my friends, about it. I feel like if people want to look more further into this and support like a nonprofit, Project Unloaded is really good. So they have a campaign called SNUG, which stands for Safer Not Using Guns, and they're a group of students that are in America, and they advocate for non-gun violence and not using guns. And I feel like this, if they have more light on them, this will also help decrease, gun incidents and gun violence in the United States. So they're really great. They're a really great nonprofit to check out.